Hey everyone, welcome to the very first Data Mesh Days hosted by the Data Mesh Learning Community. So I'm very excited to have our first guest speaker on. This is someone I mentioned who has been on their data mesh journey for a number of years. It's Omar Khawaja from Roche Diagnostics. He'll be talking about being a couple years into their journey, what progress have they seen, and what's next for them. Their data mesh journey began in early 2021, and today they have 5 global functions delivering high-quality data products that have drastically accelerated the speed and scale of data-driven intelligence. In some cases, it's been from 5 years to 3 months, which is just unbelievable. So as I talked about the benefits you can get from moving to a data mesh methodology, this is some of the benefits that you can experience. So excited to have Omar here, and we'll turn it over to him to let him speak.
Thanks for joining, which I believe is the first Data Mesh Day for life sciences. I think it was just a few months ago in Big Data London conference where in the panel discussion with the great minds like Cindy and Jean-Marc and Jules, it was discussed that how data mesh will grow and many companies and industries will be implementing it. And today, I believe you will witness 14 plus different life sciences company have publicly shared that they are implementing data mesh approach to create business value for their organizations. It is great to see that variety. It is great to see not a cookie cutter approach and so much opportunity for all of us to learn from. We started our journey almost 2 years ago. I cannot believe that I'm saying that it has been 2 years. And today, in a very short span of time, I will try my best to share some of our learnings in the past 2 years, what has worked, what has not worked with you all as much as I can. I think the best way to describe in one sentence what has happened is what's written on the slide. The more I learn, the more I come to know that I know very little. And I'm grateful to this amazing data mesh learning community who has allowed us to share what we have learned and also taught us so many things to us throughout this 2 years journey, whether it is social or the technical side of this implementation. Let's start with what you will hear today. I will very briefly touch upon how we started. It's going to be a very short summary of that. But most importantly, it will be kind of a retrospective on each of those 4 principles of data mesh to deep dive into what we have done and what we have learned. Before we do that, most important, why are we here? I would like to remind us the amazing aspiration that we have, doing now what patient needs next. So this implementation journey, as well as what you will hear on the slides, is not about technology, it's not about data products, it's not about platforms, but it's about doing now what patient needs next. It's about creating that business value. It's about creating the impact for patients and our customers. A quick recap on where we started. So like I said, our first seminar was back in 2021. We onboarded our first domain almost 2 years ago. We learned the ropes, we learned new techniques, and now with the whole 2-year journey, we have seen massive growth in terms of domains, in terms of data products, and that's what you will see today. My presentation is going to be around these 4 principles. And if you recall, I lovingly call them the mind, body, heart, and soul in terms of having domain-oriented ownership, data as a product concept, self-service data infrastructure, and last but definitely not the least, federated computational governance. Many people have asked, is it important to do all of these 4 things together? Or shall we do one thing first and then the other and so on? My reply to all of them and our learning so far has been that we need to make an effort on all of these, but a little effort on each of these principles. If we only focus on one of them, it will not be different from all other traditional approaches of only applying technology upgrades or only doing the social changes and only doing governance approaches towards data. And that was one of the key things and success behind this data mesh approach, that it has this balance between the classic triangle of people, process, technology, and data in the middle of it. So let's look at each of these principles and what has happened in the past 2 years. We have grown in terms of domains across the organization, as you see on the right-hand side of the screen. Although it's important to notice that even before we started with this data mesh journey, our data governance bodies and our divisions like pharma, diagnostics, and even group functions have already created the concept of domains. And that was one of the trigger of going all in on the data mesh approach, that we need to build upon that investment. While there were very little advancement on creating data products, and we started very humbly with some of our data domains, throughout this journey, we even further crystallized few things and cemented things like agreeing on data domain definition, as you see on the slide over here. We have also learned the approaches on applying product thinking, like product discovery approaches, opportunity value trees, a version of it in terms of lean value tree approach, where we have also written some blogs together with our partners on it. And we have also learned this double diamond design principle approach to explore whether data mesh works for this domain, identifying the use cases, drilling down on those use cases to identify the first set of data products, and then get into the rhythm of doing those data products and delivering the value right away. In the beginning, we didn't have those tools with us. And it's a funny story that even if you put together a team together, you won't be able to deliver value if they don't know where they are going. So putting a structure behind this has given us a step-by-step process, even to the extent that our information architecture and data governance team, shout out to them, they have done this amazing job in even coming up with this data maturity concept on which domains can assess themselves, where they are on this journey on different social and technical aspects of information and data. And they can identify some of the action items which leads towards some tangible actions in creating data products, and also applying some process and technology-based approaches towards maturity. It's also important to identify that we may discover that data mesh is not right for everybody, and there is no need to create that momentum. So for any organization out there who wants to start their journey, I would highly encourage you to ask that question first. Is it for me or not? Am I ready for this real paradigm shift in approach towards data management and generating value from data? It's in our journey, when we started with one of our domains where we did not have a domain leaders identified. But since then, we have come a long way, and you will see very soon in some of the slides that I will share, we have so many domain leaders identified, as well as many data domains onboarded with their data product teams, as each of them are now creating value through their data products team. One mantra that I would like to share with you all, and high suggestion, is that don't wait for these perfect definitions. Don't wait for everything to be defined out. Just make a small step-by-step approach. And that's why start small, implement, and also grow and scale as more and more value is being generated. Speaking of what's happening within the domains, let's talk about the heart of the data product. Treating data as a product. I think a lot has been said on this topic. Recently, I remember Sanjmo has written an amazing blog on cutting through all of this buzzword around data products and defining them beautifully. And we have done a similar approach as well internally, that along with the definition of data domains, we identified what is a data product. And for us, it's a combination of that technology and data that delivers the value in that business context. And it is linked with the life cycle management of that data product itself. One of the most challenging things is not the technical side of data product, but rather the change management and the mindset shift needed from the traditional approaches of separating the data warehousing team and data visualization and business analysts and IT and business in different camps, and bringing them together into one coherent data product team within that domain. That ownership of data, its code, its how the data is moved from source systems into this analytical plane, and how it is structured for multiple use cases. That approach towards understanding the customer needs, what user experience that will have, whether it will be just a experience in terms of structured curated data sets, or will it be an export in terms of an API delivering data in a JSON format, or will it be a dashboard, will it be a mobile app, or a combination of all of that, providing a consistent set of data in all of these output ports. This is the heart at which this whole concept lives. If the team are not creating or providing that love towards the data, I'm afraid the journey of the data mesh and data product thinking will be very, very short. One important aspect that we also identified was what kind of modeling techniques, if any, we need to use. In our beginning, we went down with Data Vault, and we are still doing that. But we also realized that there are cases where we don't want to apply that because of the nature of that data, the already curated data set that we might be receiving or buying, for example. And that has been a quick learning as well. One of my colleagues, Paul, has shared massively how to merge and explore data vault and data product approach. And I highly encourage you to watch those webinars and series of blogs and articles that has been written on that topic. Moving on to the third principle, the whole body on which these data products live and the backbone of the data mesh initiative is this infrastructure and the platform. And it has been a very exciting journey because I'm sure, like many of you, or the experience that I have, like me, you must have done so many platform development and creation as well. But the approach that you need in the data mesh when it comes to doing platform is all about making sure that the other data domain product teams needs to use the platform. So how you are going to provide that developer user experience to them is going to be the key success factor on how the platform and the self-service infrastructure needs to be created. Like many companies, if you have not applied these thinking or not built the platform like this, you might have multiple platforms and you will have a different challenge in terms of bringing them together, or at least try to bring some of the layers and capabilities together where it makes sense. It's also important to understand that one tool will not solve the whole platform experience. One technology will not act as a silver bullet. So we need, and this is what we did, we took a capabilities-based approach. We defined these technical capabilities. I'll show you how our service capabilities and the technology layer model help us bring this mesh experience plane and data experience plane as the infrastructure experience plane together. The team has come a long way in elevating that. We have also provided some self-made tool to bring those lean value tree and data product design concepts in terms of a data mesh design studio, which helps provide that visibility across the organization on which teams are working to create those data products. We have just started that. It's an exciting area to work on because it brings in the principles of design and architecture together. At the same time, when we are applying this platform approach, the platform team also needs to take that product hat on, that they are enabling their services to the platform to the other teams to use. And that's also how you create the magic that the platforms can provide. You do it right, your products will be built on an infrastructure in a way using common policies. A lot of automation benefits, especially on the governance sides, can be built in. You can avoid multiple data integration that needs to take place between the tools. And if not to do it right way, is to do the work for the domain teams. And that's going to take us back to that centralized bottleneck teams that we need to change. And that has been a great learning journey for us. If we look at from even the work that Jamar shared in a book about how to design that platform, we looked at these three experience planes and we cut them across the different services, looking at which personas are required to access those service planes, for example. And then we divided them into the different logical services that those layers provide, and eventually linking them to the capabilities and the technologies that enable them. And that helped us cut this big elephant of the platform into tangible, composable architecture. We are still on our journey to provide a unified experience plane, although a lot of automation has taken place in the past 2 years. The workload on the product teams have simplified a lot, and I'm telling you that out of my own experience of how simply through configurations, a lot of things are happening. For example, publishing of your data products in our catalog is a fully automated process now. The shopping experience, which has gone live, is a fully automated process now. We can use observability monitors right away the day we go live. And it's one thing that people have asked that, do you need all of them from day one? And the answer is no, you don't. So again, run away from this perfection, although aim for it, strive for providing that amazing services to the data product team, but don't wait for everything to be settled in and available. Being transparent, listening to the domain teams, listening to the product teams as their customer to build these capabilities is going to be a key success factor in how these teams come together. I will share the principles that we are applying in terms of building upon the best practices of team topologies in the next few slides on how the teams can work together and what we have learned there so far. Last, but definitely not least, the fourth principle around federated computational governance, as I lovingly call the mind of our data mesh, as you are defining policies, going away from the traditional approaches of governing and controlling things on how to make that forum a more data sharing and enabling forum has been our biggest challenge, and still to date is the same challenge, because it's very easy to go back to those old practices of let's govern anything. To be honest with you all, I think you need some level of governance, whether I like the word or not. I can definitely acknowledge that use many times it has been a case that it's important to apply those governance practices as well with clearly defined domain boundaries, for example. It will be also beneficial to include the platform teams in this, and that's where the exchange and the sharing takes place. And the more domains are onboarded, I think the sharing and what's happening, the best practice, it's like osmosis where you learn from each other and proudly copy paste the best practices so that others can use around it. To give you an example, here is a snapshot of a few months back on how our summary of our experience plane looks like, if you recall from the previous platform slide. Different domains being onboarded, creating their data products. We are summarizing whether the data products are fit, whether they are fulfilling those characteristics by having the service level indicators. We know how the data products are being consumed in different groups. We know how the data products are being served, the type of the data products, whether they are source oriented or aggregate or consumer oriented. And this provides visibility for all the domains of what's happening. One thing that we will be aiming to do is to also have visibility before things go live, when the teams are designing and thinking and discovering which data products to create. And that's where the data mesh design studio concepts comes in. Unfortunately, I will not be covering that today, but perhaps maybe in our follow-up session, something to share as well. As I mentioned before, I do want to take this opportunity to talk about team topologies, something which has become very close to my heart recently as well. And the way I see how things have progressed in the industry around data, insights, and analytics, and how the teams have formed. And I see this amazing approach that Manuel and Matthew have provided in Team Topologies book can help us define these data product teams and platform teams and enabling teams and maybe even complicated subsystem teams. So just to give you an example, I clearly see that these data product teams are these stream-aligned teams in the team topology definition. These are the teams that consume the services from the platforms, as I showed you before. And the platform team for this self-service data and infrastructure providing that developer user experience to these teams needs to enable those services so that these teams can consume and have that team interaction of X as a service interaction between them. There is an important role on taking your domain teams before even a product team is formed through the journey of starting from zero and becoming a hero in terms of delivering business value. And that's an important role that our enabling teams can do. I believe you will be hearing from our enterprise-wide platform program called Roche Data Insights also during this day. And I will let them share what has happened in this area as well. The enabling teams also play a key role in collecting this feedback from all the domains and sharing, as well as providing that feedback to the platform team. Sometimes which we forget about this, but I think it's an important role and the important interaction of facilitating that is taking place over there. We do have a gap where I highlighted this in a color of complicated subsystem teams, and we are exploring maybe the master data product teams could sit over here because they specialize in this management of the master data, which by nature is a hub and spoke model and cannot be lived in one particular domain. We have not leveled and addressed that. So once we have done that, hopefully my colleagues who are addressing that or myself, I will love to partner with them to share our learnings as we move forward with this approach. To conclude, here is some of the key numbers on what's happening in our data mesh journey. You can see that we have onboarded 14 plus data domains. We have 15 plus operational data products already live. Our onboarding MVP time on a data product is just 6 to 8 weeks. Of course, people, their skills and capabilities, and the clarity of the use case and the outcome that we need to achieve is a key factor in achieving that 6 to 8 week journey. In some cases, not everything is rosy. We have also spent 4 weeks in just sorting out some access and policies for the new systems, by the way. So I don't want to give an impression to anybody that, oh my God, everything is perfect. No, we are learning. We have this can-do attitude across all our domain that even if we face obstacles, we need to find solutions. We need to come together to find solutions for our common end goal. Our collaboration on our Confluent, on our pages, on wiki pages, on Overflow is increasing every day by day as we have more and more developers and the data product team joining. Our releases have gone multi-folds because the data product teams are not blocked by the platform team for releases. Our CI/CD pipelines, our data ops approach have enabled the data product teams to deploy whenever they feel like they need to deploy. At least we have not come across the cases where we need to wait for the platform team to do our deployment. And I hope we don't find any such use cases in the beginning as well. Last but not the least, around the technology side, we have been exploring and onboarding different technologies, different clouds. Our platform is, of course, multi-cloud and using different services from all the 3 big cloud providers. Our data lives in the Snowflake, that's in different shapes and form. And that's also a great technology to have to provide true multi-use experience, which enables all these data product teams to share data, to reuse data specifically without making copies of it. So on that note, I encourage people to explore. I encourage people to provide feedback. I encourage all the best wishes to everyone who's especially in life sciences industry, but also outside that, who are exploring this data mesh journey. I look forward to learn from you. I look forward to explore what has been achieved in different shapes and forms. And a big thank you for the data mesh learning community to allow us to once again come and share our journey on this platform. Feel free to contact me on LinkedIn or on Slack, and I look forward to this continued collaboration and learning. Thank you once again.
Fantastic. We always love hearing from Omar. He has so much wisdom and knowledge to share, having been on this journey for a number of years now. The interesting part about aiming for perfection, but don't wait for it. We hear a lot of questions about that change management and how do you get there and how do you get the team to kind of work together. And I like the mindset of we're here, we're aiming for perfection, but it's not going to be perfect when we start. And let's come together to find solutions as we figure this out as we go. I think that mindset is really important as you go into a data mesh implementation. Is just let's figure this out.